Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, night. Welcome to the show. Very warm welcome to any viewers. We're trying to deal with at least I'm trying to deal with the real issues, and my YouTube channel's now partly put together. In the YouTube video conveyor belt, shall we call it, I mentioned in a previous YouTube video comment section that the throughput of the YouTube video selector thumbnail design hierarchical belief system, in my opinion, could be improved, but I'm not YouTube's owner. They're something I'll never be, but hierarchy. Warm welcome to the show. Very warm welcome. It's quite a warm day here today. Not too cold, not too warm, and not a bit of light rain forecast for today in this area. Climate issue. Rory McIlroy has been mentioned in one of my previous broadcasts about what appeared to be an unlikely outcome of winning the Grand Slam and the golf majors, when he won the Masters Golf Championship at Augusta after many trials and attempted efforts to try to win the Grand Slam and win the Masters to complete his four major golf championship wins, and to be considered that kind of player, you had to do well in specific events: US Open, US PGA golf event, British Open and Masters. You had to peak at these weeks to be considered, in inverted commas, great golfing world. And if you couldn't, they played throughout the year, 52 weeks a year or 50 weeks a year on the tour, and comparable difficulty of layout of course. But to be considered a golfing great on the golfing professional circuit, you need to peak in these specific 4 weeks: US Open, US PGA, British Open, and US Masters, which Rory McIlroy has been able to do. Marketing. Well, while doing some of my distance learning units, marketing is something I learned basic skills about: writing a business plan, marketing plan, customers king marketing, which came from America. Read a bit about theoretical physics, the real world of scientific intelligent people in studying the unifying of the 4 fundamental forces: electroweak, electrostrong, gravity, electromagnetism, and so on, trying to unify the 4 fundamental forces and suggesting there might be a 5th fundamental force. Whether they should be trying to unify or not, there are, in the real world, there have been human beings indeed trying to unify the 4 fundamental forces in theoretical physics and the natural world. Currently, theologically, plans of the heart come from man, or steps are directed by the Lord. The Roman Empire did in reality exist a lot of years ago. It came and went, and there's some suggestions by certain scholars about why there was a demise of the Roman Empire years ago, and the rise of other empires and the fall of certain empires, who had been the British Empire, which had been what it was and is currently partly in decline. Why these phenomena should occur and currently, over the last 35 years, in the Western world at least, Amazon has indeed happened. They're the online electronic e-commerce shop with an electronic web page, started from a person in America, east side of America, travelled to the west coast, started his business. Currently it's supposedly an immigration issue, but with the Amazon business, it's a new groundbreaking business at the time. The guy, Jeff Bezos, had studied, I believe, theoretical physics initially, changed to computer science. From the computer science course that he studied, started his business, Amazon, from home and computer. It'd be by the kind of business that Jeff Bezos had, there'd be an element of immigration involved in his work. If he was mail order e-commerce shop, which is new to the market at the time, about 30 to 35 years ago, and has now conquered the shopping markets of the Western world on a huge scale due to the hard work of Jeff Bezos and his employees and the customers who are keen to avail themselves of his services as an electronic shopkeeper. That's a fact of life. Amazon currently in 2025 happens to be what it is. Might not have happened, but it has happened. We know it's on the earth. That's currently in 2025 something that has indeed happened. Unifying the four fundamental forces in theoretical physics, natural world, from the scientists and mathematicians. That is not a fantasy pie-in-the-sky storyline. There have indeed been human beings educated in mathematics, conceptual physics, collaborating to try to unify the four fundamental forces of nature into whatever. Should they be done, not as another matter, but in recent years, after a huge amount of labour by the robot people, artificial intelligence, neural nets and AI and computing, Geoffrey Hinton, Mr. Hassabis and his colleagues, the situation, the field of play as it stands in 2025 is as it is. And TODE, TTODE, that's what OpenAI ChatGPT 5.0 said to me when I typed in things I've learned from John Polkinghorne and some other scholars. Talk to ChatGPT 5.0 button on OpenAI's ChatGPT 5.0. Comment section on YouTube. The design of the YouTube application program, the throughput of videos in the YouTube program conquered the world at the current time. The reality, sadly, is in my opinion, of transference, counter-transference, the psychiatric model, as it's commonly called, is widely practiced, and whether it should be to bring health to people is another debatable question. That should a psychiatric model, transference, counter-transference, projection model, started by Sigmund Freud a lot of years ago, been used for lots and lots of years, should that be used as a way to bring hierarchical health to people, breathing release, eye issues solved, or is there a better way to deal with what is nowadays called contamination of the system. I think I've never heard anyone mentioning trying to unify marketing, customers king marketing, running businesses. Whether you should be trying to unify it, if people were going to unify things, it should be unifying customers king marketing. The marketing mix, the business plan, how they're going to systematically have a way to try to start businesses and might network to bring prosperity. There seems to be no shortage of wealth on the earth, but it is in the hands of just a small number of people. And should there be, at this time, with the robots being developed, AI developing, quantum computers developing, a redefining of what hierarchy might mean, whether there should be unification of what they're trying to unify, and what is the best way to, with all these things happening among the human population, what is the best way to logistically deal with these secretarial staff issues, technical computer technician issues, lighting staff at the theatre, and the various activities that are currently being undertaken by the humans living on the earth without too many health problems or without flooding issues. Television, TV, and Netflix, Apple TV, BBC TV, YouTube TV, other many odd number of TV stations, radio stations, if they're going to try to maintain equilibrium without climate issues. Collaboration, fiction writers in the arts, English literature department, filmmakers, songwriters, theatre, stage people, unifying what their activities are with the activities of the science department, the business community, marketing, how we're going to live on the earth without too many issues for the human species. I was trying to maintain standard temperature and pressure, as the scientific community call it. Could marketing, customers king marketing, business plans, could there be a way to try to make it more expendable? No, not expendable, but could we make it more oxygenating? I think Toad, theory of divine equivalence, principle of equivalence, equivalent particle, the various plethora of different disciplines which are currently, when they're dealing with the various different disciplines, they generally use what they call their multidisciplinary team. Is that the way to do it? Or should there be holographic care? Perspective, vanishing point, human health to the human body, physically and mentally, a way for people to collaborate and work together without overuse of the Earth's resources, sustaining ecosystems, developing it to the correct standard temperature and pressure, having some increment or delement, if there's such a word as delement. We'll just say we'll make up the word delement to try to explain what we're trying to do, to alienate what we're trying to do. Should there be a hierarchical change in focus from the real person to what human beings really are or were, but before the onslaught of technological advancement in relatively recent times in the history of life on planet Earth and in the cosmos, which might be billions of years old. Could customers can marketing Amazon throughput of YouTube video selectors be dealt with in a slightly different way of TTODE, theory of divine equivalence, focal point, breathing operation, TV ration, if we were to ration some of the TV coverage and not link all the TV presentations up together, could there be a better way to organise the various strands of activities that are currently undertaken among the human community? Ethics, morality, spiritual well-being. Presenting it in a more formidable way to approach these issues. Perhaps it is. I think robotics is developing. Should they try to go beyond the technological singularity, or should they try to manage it in the context of TTODE, where there's an ethical, moral, spiritual master template behind the four fundamental forces in science, five if there is a fifth fundamental force of consciousness or whatever, should be trying to unify it, and if they are, is trying to unify the four fundamental forces in the natural world in the science department something you should be aiming to do, or should there be fragmentation to some extent? Should there be a limitation to the elevated or delineated high-rise, low-level picture of what is happening for the unemployed who in this current situation young people face, and what kind of situation the young people face? I think TTODE, I made a YouTube presentation of that with the help of OpenAI ChatGPT 5.0 supercomputer. That is currently open to debate. I'm open source, not an entrepreneur, not a high level eyeball person, and living in the real life in the real world. And I think marketing. Well, we currently know Amazon are what they are in 2025 in the Western world. They've done the jobs they've done over the last 35 years under the leadership of Jeff Bezos and his wife when they were together. That is not a fancy story. It is something that's happened, and with YouTube has happened. YouTube is a story that's not a fiction story. The YouTube company was started by whoever started it. It was bought by Google, and the YouTube format computationally is as it is, and with Toad, TV coverage, customers king marketing, focal visual point perspective, unifying of the four fundamental forces in physics, should be unifying them. And for me personally, as I am as a human being who believes in health and wants to see people stay healthy, including myself in my old age or as I get older, If I was to assess Amazon, from my experience of Amazon living in the Scottish Highlands, I've gone to them for business for quite a few years in recent times, where I'd assess the Amazon product program. What I would say is they've obviously done the job over 35 years. It's now in Western countries all over the country, all these nations. There's an immigration element to the job to do, that they take products from manufacturers, sell them in their e-shop, and quite often that involves an immigration element to their work. You have to travel to certain areas itinerantly to take the products from their centres of warehouses to the customers, which is obviously, if they started on the east coast of America, went to the west coast and to these other countries, to the neighbourhoods who know that job well, what is involved in the job. And I would say hierarchically, in the light of Toad, if I was going to make changes to YouTube, not YouTube, I would make changes to YouTube along the same lines of Toad, through the selection of the videos, presentation, message presented, hierarchically, the design of the thumbnails, the throughput of the YouTube video selectors. If I were these companies, YouTube is currently based in America, and it's all over the world. They've done that job. If I was going to try to address the health issues between YouTube and Amazon, I would make it a British 1950s traditional stiff upper lip, as it were, metaphorically, cup of tea, English people drinking cups of tea at the point of delivery. The work that YouTube do is obviously sensationally good work, and the work that Amazon do is sensationally good work, but from a health perspective and not a trick-or-treat Black Friday culture socially. As a person who's an Indigenous UK citizen, born in 1963, hierarchically, where they try to implicate of the juxtapositioning of the so-called marketing mix unification with the 4 or 5 fundamental forces in physics, robotics, point of delivery of products, instead of using with Amazon with the point of delivery of products, what they do, how it's approached, what is said, how they know what is said in people's houses, and how they go about customer care of the dealing with the handover of the transaction bought by the customers. At that point, I would change it to a 1950s British hierarchical system. Tea drinkers. That's personally what I would do. I would change from the psychiatry model to Toad at the point of delivery of the product. They'll know Amazon will know these areas that they've worked in for years, so all across the Western world. They'll know these areas, as the old saying goes, like the back of their hands. They'll obviously shown they can do the job. But at the point of the delivery of the product, instead of the psychiatry model being used, transference, counter-transference, projection, I'd use a cup of tea model to that. I'd use a Toad model, lower down scale, and see if there's any way of unifying, if they want to unify it, or if there's any advantage in unifying marketing, customers king marketing, business organisation, with the nature of the natural ecosystems and the natural world, and the TV coverage about what it is they're trying to do. Is there a better way to represent that? And with the media, journalists and other such workers, Toad has made with a change of the theory of divine equivalence, possible existence of the equivalent particle, and the principle of equivalence, where there to be some changes made at the point of delivery of the YouTube video selector, along the lines of a more British 1950s traditional cup of tea version, hierarchically with the standard table model of particles, from the psychiatry model to a traditional 1950s British model. Now in all these areas, breeding could once again happen. It would improve the product, it would improve these areas that Amazon visit with their work and their service, and it gives opportunity to provide opportunity to improve people's health in these areas. And there seems to be no shortage of wealth on the earth, but it seems to be in the hands of just a small number of people. And where there to be some juxtapositioning of wealth distribution, consideration of the poor, universal basic income perhaps, and as we approach robotic development, AI improvements, quantum computer developments, changes to the marketing mix and TV coverage. I've changed from social media, as it's called, to a traditional British model of tea drinkers. That's personally what improvement I would say. Hierarchically, now that these businesses are established, YouTube and Amazon, to make them more British-like, I've changed the point of delivery of these products to not a trick and treat Black Friday. I'm not against any particular nation. As people who know me know, I'm not against other nations of any what kind, but Toad theory of divine equivalence, by the grace of whatever or whoever, God, if you want to call him God, however it happened, by getting an education from sources of people who are delivering education material. OpenAI ChatGPT 5.0 working hard over a lot of years with neural nets of Jeffrey Hinton, Google, to produce OpenAI ChatGPT 5.0 AI, I think with a bit of fine-tuning, that perhaps it could, whether unification of marketing, customers king marketing, business ethos, generating wealth and prosperity, unifying that line of work to keep us alive by generating wealth, which we need to do to live on earth as humans, but also unifying it with, or attempting to unify it with, through the focal distance of what humans, what is commonly called the caveman instinct, and what humans actually are, and with the coming of robotics, that AI, should there be an attempt trying to unify some of these disparate intricacies of what these works are. And then finally, we've covered about 29 minutes. I'm not an expert. I think universal basic income would be a good starting point. Many people I've mentioned previous broadcasts and comments I happen to think are very talented people, the ones I've mentioned. But if they merge it or interlink it with traditional British cup of tea, 1950 traditional British values, at the point of contact or service, transaction of the product, it could be healthier for all concerned, all involved, and what's happening on Earth. And before I finish this warmly welcome service and quite a warm day here today. Warm welcome to the service.